You have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular, that's the head of logistics. And this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine. And we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no plan.
I don't think we're going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families, every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their out of habit where their wife or husband was is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he has never said, he said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now. What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me,
very
I
quickly.
take full responsibility. It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. What Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You
I didn't
certainly
say should have
did.
called
You
Pelosi,
certainly
and
did.
I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handle.
He thought I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
That's obvious.
do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in a golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the name, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums, do not open until you get this under control.
Hello,
Under
everyone.
more control.
Hey,
But when
Katie.
you
How are
give
you?
the people the capacity to be able to open and have
Let's
the
see.
capacity to do it safely. For example,
Everyone knows
schools, they
Briahna
need a lot of money to
Joy
open. They need to
obviously.
deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes.
Hold on, let me just put
more
on
teachers, more
the
pods. And
uh,
he's refused to support that money, or at
how
least
do I
up to
put on? Oh,
now.
click
Let's
closed
talk about
captions.
schools.
Well,
President Trump,
I
you-
think we have to respond if I might.
Oh my gosh.
please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he
All
does
right.
is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's
not
going
wrong.
on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you,
Ooh.
President Trump. You
Right.
have made schools open in person.
Very different approaches to talking about their children.
Yesterday, Boston
children,
became
yeah.
the latest city to move its public school system
So
entirely
everyone knows
online
Briahna Joy
after a
Gray.
coronavirus
She's
spike.
a
What is your message
brave
to parents
warrior,
who worry that sending their
um,
children to school will endanger not only
the
their
journalist
kids, but also their
and
teachers and
a
families?
I want to
former
open the schools.
Bernie Sanders
The
press
transmittal rate
secretary
to the teachers is
and
very
prolific.
small.
And she's been on the
But I
show
want to
before. I'm just
open the
keeping my
schools.
voice
We have
down
to
so we
open
can
our
watch
country.
this.
We're
And
not going to
then
have a country.
during a break,
You
we'll
can't do
talk
this.
more.
We can't
Cool.
keep this country
Thank you for
closed.
coming.
This is a
Of
massive
course. Send me a link and I'll
country
tweet it
with a
out.
Oh
massive
yeah, I thought I
economy.
did. Sorry. I
People
put it
are
in the
Oh,
link,
losing
right?
their
Let me
Let me do
jobs.
that. Hold
They're
on.
committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse.
Tremendous abuse.
We have to open our country. You know, I've said it
Oh, I didn't realize
often,
that
the
was on.
cure cannot be worse than the problem itself.
Vice
And that's
President.
what's happening. And he wants to close down, he'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your
Simply
response.
not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Bernie, that's
We
a
ought to be
Bernie
able
line.
to safely open when they need resources to open. You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
Ooh, that's going to be
President
taken
Trump, let
into
me follow up with you
context.
quickly.
I
Although I
know.
will say this, if you go and
We knew
look
what he
at
meant, but
happened
my
in New
goodness.
York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic.
Really doesn't
It's-
seem that
These are
bad.
businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't
We
do
could
that to people. You just
Ramp up
can't.
our
Take a look at
manufacturing
New
by
York and what's happened to my
exponential rates for World War
wonderful
II, but
city
we
for
can't get some
so many
plexiglass
years. I
going.
loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look
Vice
at what
President
New
Biden.
York has done in terms of turning the curve
right,
Not
I'm
fast
gonna
enough.
move
in
on.
These
number of
real
people
estate
dying.
prices
And
are
I
not
don't look at
falling the
this
way
in
I would
terms
like
of the
them
way he
to.
does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the
Okay.
coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly.
Right.
But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been
Briahna,
passed
do you have
to
a
do
drink?
that. It's been out
I
there
do.
since the beginning
Okay,
of
what
the
should we
summer.
do?
and
We
Nothing's
should do.
happened.
Okay, should we just
Listen,
drink
New York
whenever?
has lost more
I
than
feel like it's weird to not to
40,000
do it
people,
without Matt Taibbi.
11,000
So,
people
and I
in
didn't.
nursing homes.
President Trump, what
When you
about
say
But
spike,
what do you want to do? Do
take
you
a
want to
look at
drink
what's
every
happening
time? I
in
mean, I would love
Pennsylvania,
to hear
where
your
they've had it
coaching
closed.
of Biden.
Take a look at what's happening with your friend
I would
in
love
Michigan.
for
He's
Her
doing a
him to
husband
great
is
hear.
not even
job
allowed to do anything.
He is
tonight.
It's
doing a
been
good
like
job,
a
right?
prison. Now, it was
He
just
is.
ruled
I'm not.
unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina.
I know
They're
this is
having
so
spikes,
boring.
and they've been closed, and they're getting
I
killed
guess it's
Yeah,
financially.
maybe good
We
for
they,
the
can't
world.
let
I
that
think it
happen,
really
Joe.
is the
You
format that's
can't let
helping a
that
lot.
happen. We have to
Yeah.
open up. And we understand
Hold
the
on.
disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow
Oh
up
my
with you before
God,
we
that
move on to our
argument.
next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the
Oh, yeah.
nation's best known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony, but he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said, this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks.
Sorry, I'm having
Anthony also
allergies.
said, if you
Oh,
look
no.
back, exact
I
words.
couldn't
Here's
take
his
an
exact
allergy
word.
pill because I'm
This is no
drinking.
problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the
Yeah.
American people.
I
He
still
was
can't get
told
over
this
that.
was a serious virus that
Yeah.
spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we find out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really
Yeah, that's
dangerous
really
thing.
bad.
And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going
one
to give
I-
you
this
30
is one I
seconds to
haven't-
respond, and then we're
The
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one,
on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it.
I
Joe,
haven't.
you have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able.
All right, gentlemen, we're
But
going to
don't
move
tell me
on.
about Wall
Average
Street.
That's
contribution,
we can drink when
$43.
it's
All right, we're gonna move on
woke
to our
Trump,
next
when Trump
section,
is
which
actually
is
saying
national
something
security.
unintentionally
And I
like
do want to
leftist
start
critique.
with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to
You have a
influence
cold,
this
Brie?
election. Both
No
countries have
allergies.
obtained
Oh,
U.S.
allergies.
voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice
Oh,
President.
God,
What
this is
would
so
you do
stupid.
to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear,
Oh,
and
God.
I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear
my
that
God.
any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American
What about
elections
Israel?
will pay a price. They will pay a price.
They're the ones who tried
It's
to
been
be
overwhelmingly
responsible
clear
for
this
the
election. I won't even get into the last one. This
Russiagate
election,
stuff.
that Russia has been
Michael Flynn
involved,
was
China's been
meddling
involved
on
to some
behalf of
degree, and
Israel.
now we learned that
Did you see Simone
that,
Sanders
Iran is involved. They
dismissing?
will pay a
He
price
said
if I'm
if
elected. They're
Donald Trump
interfering with
brings up
American
Hunter
sovereignty.
Biden, it's
That's what's
Russian
going on right now.
disinformation.
They're interfering with
Oh,
American
yeah, of course.
sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president
Can you
said
send me a
anything
link,
to Putin
Kate?
about it.
Oh, yeah, I
don't think
emailed it
he's
to you.
stalking them
Through
a lot. I
email.
don't think he said
Sorry,
a
yeah.
word. I don't
Okay,
know
taking
why
it back.
he hadn't said a word to Putin about it.
Because
And
I
I don't know what
can't,
he has
I couldn't
recently
access
said,
it.
if
Sorry about
anything,
that, yeah.
to the Iranians.
worry.
My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken
Low tech,
with
yeah.
regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a
Folks.
situation
battle
where
for
we have
folks.
foreign countries trying to interfere in the
Company.
outcome of our election. His own
Burisma.
national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, well, I shouldn't, well, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me.
It's a little
I don't understand
Rumsfeldian.
why
There are
this
known
president
knowns and
is
unknown
unwilling
knowns.
to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American
Oh, but
soldiers
that's
in
a lie.
Afghanistan.
I can't
when he's
believe it.
engaged in activities that are
Fake
trying
news.
to
Fake
destabilize
news,
all
Joe.
of NATO.
Sorry.
I don't
We
know
should have
why
we
he
definitely
doesn't
have
do
a fake
but
news
it's worth
drinking club.
asking the question,
Fake
why
news.
isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price.
Yeah,
because
when
they're
Joe is
affecting
like
our
being
sovereignty.
like to the right of Trump
President
and
Trump,
Trump is being to the
same
left of
question to you.
Biden.
Let me
That's where
let
Well,
me
we
ask
they're
you
drink
guys,
at.
you're going to have
typically
2
that's
minutes to
positioned in that
respond.
way.
For
Right.
two
Just like as a
elections in a row
helpful
now, there has been
guide.
substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do
He's
in
going to
your
bring in
next
Hunter, right?
term
This
to
is
put
a
an
good
end to this?
Hunter
2 minutes
pivot.
Well, let
uninterrupted.
me
I
respond
don't know,
to
he's
the
being
first
very
part, as Joe answered. Joe got
reasonable for
$3.5
Trump's
million
world
from
tonight.
Russia,
Yeah,
and
you're
it
right.
came
Well,
through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of
Uh-oh.
Moscow's wife. And you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5
I
million.
told you he'd
and
pivot.
Emily, you're right.
Somebody
I
gonna
don't
have
know
to
why I
explain
continue
why
to
did you get
overestimate this
3.5? I
man.
never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that. And through
I think he's doing
John,
really well.
who
It's
was
scary.
John Ratcliffe, who was
Yeah.
fantastic, DNA,
Biden's
he
holding
said
it down tonight.
the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher to Russia.
It's
Between
true.
the sanctions,
It's true.
nobody tougher
No one
than
wants
me
to
on
talk about
Russia.
this, but it's
Between
true.
the sanctions,
Many people are saying it.
between all of what I've done with
Not,
you know, I've got the
not enough
net
people are saying
put
it.
up
I know,
an
I
extra
wish.
130 billion going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold.
This
while
is
he
how
was
it's
selling
so sad that
pillows
this
and
is how you
sheets,
seduce
I sold
Democrats.
tank busters to
It
Ukraine.
is
There has
extremely,
been nobody
extremely sad.
tougher
I'm
I
really tough on
gotta
Russia
say-
and friendly with
Donald Trump.
Ukrainian Nazis.
And
Vote for me.
I'll tell you, they were so bad. They
I'm
told
extremely
the
eager for
Assembly
this election day to
remember that
come.
very well.
I know.
If only because I get to tweet. I'm only tweeting about 20% right now, as much as it's upsetting people. And I can't wait to ratchet it up.
But but
Yeah,
you
you
were
feel a
getting a
little
lot of
constrained.
money from Russia.
I feel
They
like
were paying you a lot
enormously
of money.
constrained. I can
And
single-handedly tip this election one way or the
now,
other. Is
what
Yeah.
came out
what
today,
people are
it's even
saying.
worse.
Right.
All of the
But
emails,
also
the
go
horrible
fuck
emails
yourself,
of
and
the
you've no
kind of
power,
money
right?
that you were raking in
Right.
from your family. You know,
Right.
you were vice president when some
Yeah.
of this was
We don't
happening,
need
and
you,
it should have
and
never
we're going to
happened.
blame this on
And
you.
I think you owe an
Yes,
explanation to
I'm
the
just being
American
annoying
people.
cheese.
Why
Oh,
is it?
Zach, you're
I
sweet.
had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was
Oh.
damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Oh my God, he's such
Vice
a good
President Biden, you may
troll.
respond.
He's
I-
pretty
I-
masterful.
Election security.
Whew.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new
I would like
town.
to. I want him to say like one
you have.
specific sentence right there.
What's going on here? Why
And
don't release
bring
your
some of
tax
that emollient stuff up.
about corruption?
President Trump,
Bring the
your
what
response.
stuff up?
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax, tens over the last number of years, tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you could
that.
release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, millions and millions
Sorry.
of dollars
No,
in
it's good.
taxes.
I mean, you got
Number
to.
one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine.
Yeah,
You do.
no.
I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about?
This
It's
is like the
terrible.
kind
All
of
right,
thing
gentlemen,
that
I want to
if
ask
you're
you both some
following right
questions
with
I have
about
Facebook
on
posts,
this.
I'm going to let
very
you
much
both respond
resonates and
very
knows exactly
quickly.
what he's
You
talking
just said
about.
you
But if you
spoke to
don't, it's
your
like,
accountant about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have a
soon as the audit is
deadline for
finished,
when you're going to release
I
them to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party
Oh
got
my
treated.
God.
Because
you
I have a
don't have
lot
the
of
time.
people in there deep down in the IRS. They treat me horribly.
Because he's
We
very
made a deal,
religious.
it was
He's a
all
very
settled
strong
until I
religious person.
decide to
He
run
said
for
that once
president.
when he
I
was
get
asked why
treated
he was
very
being
badly by the
targeted by the
IRS, very
IRS.
unfairly.
I'm very strongly
We had a
religious.
deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the
oh
deal, I
man,
want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you
Yep.
both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Some
to
point
talk
about
about
this
this more broadly. Respond very quickly. And then I'll get to you.
are we going to get an
Why
environment
did he- He's
question or
been saying
no?
this for 4 years.
What's the over
Show
under?
us. Just show
I
us.
tweeted it
Stop
out.
playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're
Everybody
going to
knows
release your taxes. Nobody
Me too.
knows it, Mr. President. What they do
Okay.
know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
Very
So
quickly, President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you.
Sure.
On this.
God, Crystal
I
Ball
was
just
put
tweeted a
through
really good
a
tweet.
phony witch hunt
Crystal?
Yeah.
for 3 years. It started.
I fucking hate that we
before I
are
even
talking
got
about Russia
elected.
before we're
They
talking about
spied on
millions of
my
Americans on
campaign.
unemployment and
No
facing eviction.
president should ever have to go through what I went
Oh,
through.
that's her.
Let me
Yeah,
just say this.
that deserves
Mueller
a boost.
and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong, because
All
the
right.
kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq.
Let me,
Millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune.
What is
And
that?
it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it. And you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
all right, gentlemen, let me just ask
What
some
is that
questions about
about?
all of this
I don't
broadly.
know.
Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do, because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Never
President
to
Trump,
deal with
let me,
China.
let me
By the
ask
way,
my question to you.
but
and
could
then
I just
you'll-
one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no
I'm
energy.
going to let the vice president
That's
respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you.
He's
Very
gonna
quickly.
call it
basis for that.
disinformation.
Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate
Right.
that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have
Emoluments,
any
let's
foreign
go.
conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all
yeah,
listed,
yeah.
and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the
God,
vice
every
president
time
of
it's
the United
jarring when
States,
someone says
and
that
his
he's
son and
president.
his brother
I
and his
know.
other brother
All this
are
time.
getting rich. They're like
know,
a
it's
vacuum
really-
cleaner. They're
I know.
sucking
Okay,
up money every
President Trump,
place he
thank you.
goes.
We do need
Not
to move
true.
on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs, like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make
Obama
up
was praised
only,
for
we're
saying he would meet with North
25%,
Korea. Remember, with our
25%
preconditions.
of the world's
Right.
economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends
China,
with us
man.
saying to
I'm just,
China, these are the rules. You
I'm
play
just
by
thinking
them or
about
you're
how
going
much
to pay the price
policy
for not
we'd
paying
have
by
been
them
hearing about. I'm
economically.
sorry. I'm
That's
a
the way I will run it. And that's
I'm
what
a
we
Bernie
did.
bride.
We'll
I
take
can't help
tariffs
it.
and
Like,
range of other things when we were
shoot me.
president and vice president.
I care
All
about
right,
things.
let's talk about North
Yeah.
Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to
Yes,
respond
I
to
know.
that.
Okay, very quickly, and then
His
we're
son
going to move
walked
on
out
to
with
really
North
$1.5
is,
Korea.
billion from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in
Like,
office
we
and being
did
in
the
Air Force
coronavirus
Two.
portion of the
Number
night,
one.
and we didn't
Number
talk
two,
about healthcare.
there's a very
Right.
strong email
Right.
talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for
I think this
introductions.
could
President Trump,
backfire
on China
because I
policy,
think
though, what
maybe
specifically are you
Hunter
gonna do?
Biden is kind
What
of a
specifically
tragic,
are you going to
sympathetic
do to
figure.
make China pay? You said you're going
First
to
of
make them
all,
pay.
China is paying.
Like,
They're
if
paying
we're Donald
billions and
Trump
billions of
Jr.,
dollars. I just gave
You've said-
$28 billion.
You've
I,
said
he's
since-
discuss.
I
He's
just
like
gave
so.
$28
He
billion
doesn't have
to
that like
farmers.
fuck up air to
Taxes
him.
Yeah,
money.
Mr. Elephant
That's what?
tail.
Taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
Didn't
No,
come
no,
from
yeah, you
China.
know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China
Not
paid
true.
$28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money?
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted.
You guys,
You never
how
charged
long
them
has the
anything.
debate been?
Also,
Have they
I
brought up the
charged them
stimulus once?
25%
No,
on dumped
Biden
steel
never talks
because
about
they were
it.
killing our steel
I
industry.
checked
We
in
were
with
not
Jeff
going to have a
Stein,
steel
who's been
industry.
covering it
Okay.
for
And now
WAPO.
we have a steel
Okay.
Because
industry.
I'm like, am I
President
going
Biden, your
crazy?
response,
Like,
please.
Biden
My
has
response
never
is
been
this.
asked directly
This
in
isn't
person
about-
on camera
There's a reason why
about
he's
whether he supports
bringing up all
recurring
this
monthly payments.
malarkey.
And
There's a
every time
reason
the
for it.
campaign is
He
asked
doesn't want to
in a
talk about
written
the substantive
way,
issue. It's not about
the
his
answer is
family,
like a
my family.
meandering
It's
non-answer.
about
So
your
Biden
family.
all the time has
And your
gotten without
family's
commenting
hurting
on that very
badly.
basic
If you're
issue.
making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go
Feel I'm
back
having
to
tequila soda with
community
lime. It's
college?
the only thing
They're
to
the
drink.
decisions you're making.
Yeah,
And the
I'm having
middle-class
some
families like I grew up in
sangria or
Scranton,
Lambrusco, I
Claymont,
think.
they're in trouble. We should be talking
Took me
about
30
your
years to
families,
learn
but
that
that's
that
the
was the
last thing
perfect
he wanted
beverage,
to
but
talk
I'm
about.
sharing
is
this
weird.
information
That
with
is
you.
I want to talk about
Free of
North
charge.
Korea.
Don't tell my
I wanna
boss.
turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President. 10
Don't tell my
seconds.
man.
I am self-employed.
Let's get off this China thing. And then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not a
North
typical
Korea.
See, that's the thing.
politician.
That's why he
Okay.
gets
why I
away
got
with the
elected.
stuff.
That
Let's talk
let's
about-
get off the
Yeah.
subject of China.
always-
Let's talk around, sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can
Yeah,
do better.
We're
I
gonna
also
talk
don't think
about
that
North Korea
Joe
now.
should
President
linger
Trump
and
met with
linger
North
around
Korea Mayor
trade. I
Kim
think you
Jong-un
should get on and
several
off of it.
times. You've
Let
talked
the
about your beautiful
host move it
letters with
along.
him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or
Yeah,
a
this is a
long-range
good
missile
thing to not
test,
have a
and
war.
yet North Korea recently rolled out
Right,
its
but that's the
biggest ever
problem.
intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you
No.
forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama,
Has
who
anyone
sat in
mentioned
the
any
White
of the
House,
economy
right
at
at the
all?
beginning, had a great
Economics at all?
conversation.
Yes, a
Supposed
little,
to be
right.
15
Yeah.
minutes,
There was
and it was
a
well over
reference
an
to
hour.
businesses
He said the
being
biggest war we have
closed and
with
Trump
North
accused
is North
Biden of
Korea.
wanting to close down the
He
country.
indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear
This is
capability.
true. I don't.
In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be
Okay.
dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have a
that's
war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank you.
relationship.
Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because
now?
I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's the I made it clear.
Part of the deal. The art of the deal. I wrote the art of the
When I
deal.
went to China,
Excuse
and
me,
they said,
sorry.
why are you moving
Bless
your
you.
missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they
But
are
Obama
much
just
more
opened the
capable
door to
missiles,
calling everybody thugs,
able
didn't
to
he?
reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
Like your
On the condition that he
like
would
your
agree
president.
that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity. to get the Korean
So was
Peninsula should be
Obama
nuclear
wrong
free
then?
zone.
All right, let's move on to American
Kristen,
families.
they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He
I
wouldn't
didn't.
do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
got to
for a
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that.
It's like the
before we
Joe
move on.
Rogan thing.
And
No,
it's
I-
They
okay.
pretend to be
You know
anti-Joe
what? North
Rogan, but they
Korea,
want to get
we're
on
not
Joe
in a war.
Rogan.
We have a
Yeah.
good relationship.
He and Warren,
You know,
same thing with
people
Kim
look and say,
Jong-un.
having a
Yeah.
good
They're
relationship
disliking,
with
but they were
leaders
dissed
of
by
our
him.
country
We have a
is
lot
good
of country.
thing.
We have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
That's
Your
bad.
like
response.
saying we
I
had a
missed
good
some of the super
relationship with
chats.
Hitler
Sorry.
before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to
Thanks
talk
for the
about
super sticker, Lumpia.
denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger
That's
sanctions
not what
on
South
you.
Koreans
That's why
think
he wouldn't meet
or
with
want.
us.
All right,
And it
let's
didn't
move
happen.
on.
All right,
Let's
I'm
move
just
on
like
and talk
scrolling
about
Twitter at
American
this
Me a
point.
families.
mess, Kristen.
President
Yeah,
Trump.
do it.
Okay, we
Tell us
They
what's it.
left
Yeah.
me a mess. North Korea was a
I'm
mess.
sorry, he's so
And in
terrible,
fact,
but he
if you
cracks
remember
me
the
up.
first 2 or 3
He
months,
does.
They left
it was
me
a
a
very
mess.
dangerous period of my
North
first 3
Korea
months
was a
before we
mess.
sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a
Millions
very
of Americans
they
are waiting for them to talk about
and
something they
Obama
actually
would
care
do
about,
things
as
first
12 million Americans are just getting kicked off their health
I
insurance.
know. It
in our
hasn't.
country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the
Oh,
issues
okay,
that's
it's about
most
time.
important to them is healthcare, as you both know.
Oh, good.
Today, there was a key vote on a
36.
new Supreme Court Justice, Amy
Oh, my
Coney Barrett,
God.
and healthcare is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible.
Bless you.
Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision, run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it
The
as
best.
well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are
about?
down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better healthcare, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to
With
terminate
pre-existing.
Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful healthcare. The
Beautiful.
Democrats will do it.
Imagine if this were Bernie and he'd be like, I agree. There were
Yeah.
problems with Obamacare.
And I think
That's
we're
why
going to win
I have a
this.
plan.
Right.
It's called Medicare for All.
And you know what? And you
Come
know
up
what?
with
The
a
president is
better
right
healthcare,
when he says
always
that.
protecting
But instead of ruining it,
existing
you got to make it
conditions. And
better.
And make it better.
180 million people out there.
Venal,
bless him.
pathological liar.
Healthcare, far more
Craven.
than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies.
Remember enough about
These
the
are people
goddamn
that
emails?
love their
Jesus.
healthcare.
I'll
People
never
that have
forgive
been
those people.
successful,
Sorry.
middle-income people, been successful.
Yeah.
They have 180
For going after
million
him.
plans, 180
After he
million
flew around
people,
the
families,
country.
under what he wants to do, which will
I remember.
basically be
I
socialized
remember.
medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on healthcare.
See, Biden is
And we're gonna do
what he
even
should
better.
be doing is like when he's called a
Vice
socialist,
President
he should
Biden,
say
yes,
these
this
are
is for you.
things.
Your
Don't you
healthcare plan
you try to
calls
use
for
these scary
building on
words,
Obamacare.
but the
So my
truth is these
question
are
is,
things
what is your
everyone
plan
likes.
if the law is ruled
Yeah.
unconstitutional by the Supreme
Not
Court?
I'm the
You
guy who
have
beat
2
the
minutes
socialist.
uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. Become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance. The reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's
Ah.
why I did not one single person with private insurance.
Did you just
would
say
lose
I
their
support
insurance
private
under
insurance?
Yeah.
and
He's
nor
saying
did they under
he's saying I stood out
Obamacare.
for that.
They did
It's
not
like
lose their
it's
insurance unless they
So like you said,
chose.
I support
to
private
lose.
insurance. That's
Yeah.
a quote.
Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million
12.
more people who have it under Obamacare, and over
12 what?
110 million
Oh, 12
people with
million, yeah.
pre-existing conditions.
12
and all the
million.
people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people
Please do
who have
this with me.
concerns that your health care
Sorry.
plan, which includes a government
you.
insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's
I
your
say
response
it's
to them?
ridiculous. It's like saying that, we're the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think healthcare is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone
Really?
should have the right to have
Much.
affordable
He
health care.
always says that, and it's a lie. And they want us to shut up about that so that they can
all the
completely
major labor
appropriate
unions,
all
Right.
of our
as well as a
ambitions,
whole
all of
range
our
of other
rhetoric,
people who
everything
in
that we've
fact are
gained
concerned
over
in
the
the
last
medical
4
field.
years.
This is something that's going to save people's lives.
Yeah.
And this is going to give some people an opportunity
Awful.
to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in
Rolling.
God's name you're going to do if you get sick because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under? We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President
Excuse
Trump,
me, he was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it.
Oh.
He was now there as vice president for 8 years. And it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine. And it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine.
See, Brie, you
Just
got a
like you
nice
went with
compliment.
fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way,
Yeah.
so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way,
But somebody should ask the question.
you can ask.
He goes for a year. There will be
We
no
have a,
fracking.
we have,
there
we
will
do
be
have a
no
number of,
petroleum.
we have a number of topics
No,
we're
no,
going to
but
get
that's a
to.
big- that's a
and
big question.
We're going to get to, we're going to get to.
It's
a
the same
number of
thing with
topics.
socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is
Did no
people
one
deserve
coach
to have
him?
affordable health care, period. And the Biden care proposal will in fact provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on healthcare. Not a thing.
Tristan, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening on
public
Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine. And when he and healthcare, when he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally
Wrong.
destroyed, and destroying your Social Security. And this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in
Bernie.
his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
It,
let's hear,
it was
let's let Vice President
impossible
Biden
to work.
respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He
I
thinks
thought it
he's
was
running
a-
against somebody else. He's running against Joe
Oh,
I
Biden.
beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden, he's running
He thinks
against.
he's running against
And the
someone else.
idea
What?
that we're in a situation
God
that
forbid
they're
you
gonna
just
destroy
embrace
Medicare.
universal
This
health
is the
care.
guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at
Just
Social
it would be
Security,
so
if in
easy.
fact he
That's what people don't
continues to
understand.
withhold
It would be
on claim-
easy
you know,
for Biden if he just supported Medicare for all.
Social Security would be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So no, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
Well,
He tried to get
10
rid of,
seconds,
he
Mr.
tried to
President,
hurt
and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years
no
ago.
lies
Trump-
detected.
I know
Look
Trump's
at the
going there
records.
more than
He
Bernie
tried
would,
to hurt Social
unfortunately.
Security years ago.
All right,
One
let's
thing,
move
but
on.
this
I'm
is
going
the
to move
guy
on.
that
Let
when
me,
they
Mr.
announced
President, I have to
last
move
week,
on to the next question,
they said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
going to have
will
time to
boom
talk about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
the
move
way,
on to the
analysts are
next
saying that.
question,
Let me respond.
very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only
This
measure.
is an
of what's
example of one of
happening.
those moments
Where
where
I
I
come from in
exercise
Scranton,
restraint.
Claymont,
I'm
people
not
don't live
tweeting
off
about
the
how
stock
bad Joe
market.
Biden has
Just
historically done on Social
just
Security
in the
in
last
the
Yeah, I
interest
know.
of the
3
common
years
good.
during this
You're
crisis,
welcome.
the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol
401ks,
Hill. We're going to
Kristen,
move on, gentlemen.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna
People's
move on.
stock are through the roof.
All
And
right.
he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew
we're
it.
going to move on to
And
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as
Okay,
of
Here we
today,
go.
8 million more Americans have fallen into
57
poverty, and more families are going
57
hungry
minutes
every
in.
day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color.
Oh, gosh.
They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right,
By the
Mr.
way,
Vice President,
you know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because
Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed
He
this
said
act.
he said nothing.
This is like it's not new.
No.
It's been
I'm not
out
saying
there.
like he's not in Congress. It's not he has actual
Right,
power,
right.
but he hasn't been using his rhetorical.
It's happening.
Right.
When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets, and states that have to balance their budgets, so then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter
The
with
bill
these
that was
guys?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these kids. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All
By
right,
the
I
way,
want to.
if I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president.
I
don't
knew he
see
was going to
red
say that
states
too.
and
I
blue
should have
states.
said that out
What I
loud. He
see
tweeted
is
that
Yeah,
the
what
earlier
other
United
today.
predictions? What are the predictions you
I
want
knew
to
he
make?
was going to
Every
say that
single state
live.
out there finds
was a
themselves
good
in
tweet.
trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether
Has he
they're
said that
red or
before?
blue.
He tweeted it earlier
Cops,
today.
firefighters, first
Oh.
responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen.
Did you
Mr.
say
Vice
deficit
President,
spend?
we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses
Yes.
and business owners these days. Do you think this is the
Bree,
right
is your
time
mic
to ask them
selected?
to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a
On this
$15
app, is
federal
your
minimum
I
mic
wage.
do,
selected?
because I think one of the things we're
It's
going to
my
have
mic
to do is we're
selected.
going to
Is
have to
something
bail
wrong?
them out too.
No, now I can hear you. It
We
sounded
should
a
be
little
bailing them
underwater.
out now.
Oh, it could
Those
just be
small
my
businesses. You got one in
sinus.
6 of them going under.
You
They're
are
not gonna be
underwater,
able to make
under
it back.
pressure.
They passed a package that allows us to
This
be able
makes
to
me
go
miss the first
PPP.
debate they did.
Money is supposed to go to help them
I
do
mean, at least it
everything
was
from
spicy. I
organized
know that's
how
not great for the Republic,
deal with
but
I know.
business
I'm glad we're
being
not playing the
safer.
podcast after this one because
Schools,
I
how
don't
they
have
can
that much
make
to say.
classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on
Excuse
to
me,
immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly,
want
he
to
said
get
we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state
Please
option.
push back on this.
Alabama
Push back
is
on
different
this.
than New York.
I don't think he knows how.
It's different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
We have
recently.
to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses.
You
How
said-
are you helping
What is the
these small
response to
businesses
that? I
when
feel
you're
like that is
forcing wages?
actually-
What's going to happen?
there
And
needs
Well,
to
one is that you have all of these states like
When you do that,
California and
these
New York
small
whose minimum
businesses
wage is well
fear
above
their
the
employees.
federal minimum wage. And
They're raising
every
the federal
study that's
minimum
ever been done has shown that it doesn't
$15 an hour.
actually have a
You said
deleterious effect on small
they're raising
businesses
the
that they
federal
claim it
minimum
will.
wage
Right.
by
What I
$15 an
really
hour.
like-
But
That's
what
something
about that
I
should
would
be
consider
different
it
based on the
to an
local
extent,
economy?
but
In a
what I
second,
really
Well,
like-
the floor should still be higher
Right,
than
yes.
what it is right now. So
Yeah.
the minimum wage should actually be like $22.
Right.
We're saying move it to 15.
Right.
Look, I've lived in different
People
places.
made the same arguments in like 1935 when
Right.
there were like little kids with like black lung climbing
Right,
down
right, right.
chimneys and whatnot.
Other states, $15 would
Okay,
be
President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick
Oh
response,
no, I
Vice
know that
President Biden.
argument. Sorry, I mean more
Two
the like,
jobs,
but
one
yeah,
job.
it's the floor, and then you
Be
get
below
to
poverty.
pay more, and
People are making
make
$6,
more in
$7,
certain
$8 an
cities
hour.
and
These
states.
first responders,
The
we're all
government gets a lot of it back through
Right.
taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, you
because they've
know.
allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve.
I'm
a
just talking about the
minimum wage of
universal versus-
$15.
It
Anything
shouldn't be a
below
state
that
thing. It
puts
should
you
be a
below
federal
the
thing. But
poverty
Well, it
line.
can
then
be, the
different
state,
states.
the state should rise it at
Yes.
different levels above the federal. So New York
Right. That's exactly what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
simply
Yeah.
not
$22 a month.
Right, right, right.
In the federal
But the
though,
federal is
Now,
is
Jessica,
the
people
it's called the
trying
floor,
to
right?
toil in Arkansas and Mississippi shouldn't be getting
Right.
$7 a month,
Right.
an hour.
4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the
Not to
parents of
mention,
more than 500 children.
Wait staff.
How can these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here
Oh God.
by coyotes
Oh
and
my
lots
God.
of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but
I'm
they
with
have
you, Nestor Gonzalez, on the single
come in
people
through
How
point.
do you
But let
reunite
me
these
just
say
kids
this.
with their
Let me just
families?
say,
One of your
you know, they used to
supporters
say
here in the comments is talking about how
they
single
had
people subsidize the world, and I would like to validate that.
these
Okay.
horrible cages. And they said, look
Yeah.
at these cages. President Trump built them. And then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to reunite the
cages.
kids?
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it very
What
we're,
is it?
we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this.
It sounds like they jump
Quick
inside the
response and then
coyote
another
or
question.
something, like an actual animal.
Came with parents.
Yeah. Come
They
on. This
separated
is
them
like
at
one of
the
those moments when
border
you're like, yeah, there's
to
a
make it a
difference.
disincentive to come to begin with.
Right.
Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents.
Look
And
at
it
Trump's
makes us
face.
a
It's almost like you
laughingstock
think
and
maybe he's like
violates every notion
feels
of
a
who
teeny
we
bit
are.
bad.
Considering it, yeah.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
They
We
to
made it
that?
did
worse.
We
We
changed.
did not
They built the
separate the
cages.
vet- they-
Who built the cages?
I hate when they're like both right.
I know.
Super annoying.
What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to
Look
go.
at Trump. I'm trying
It's
to.
criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I
about
will say this,
immigration.
they went
10
down, we
seconds, and
brought
then I need to ask a
reporters,
question.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But
No
some
one
of them
believes
haven't been
that.
It's good.
reunited
But
with their
just ask
families.
one question.
Also, they don't
Who
have like
built the
toothbrushes.
cages? I'd love you to ask them that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration
I don't
did
like that she wouldn't engage that point because just
Right.
because Trump is saying it doesn't mean it's not a good point.
presided over
Right.
record deportations as well as family
Oh,
detentions.
she's
at the
doing
border
it.
before changing
Oh.
course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration
Wow.
overhaul now?
Trump's right. She is
Maybe
doing a
Just
great job.
It took too long to get it right. Took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've
Like
made
you
it
were
very
pushing
clear.
Barack.
Within 100
Okay,
days,
I see a little Barack Obama criticism.
pathway to citizenship for over
Yeah, I do,
11
but I
Okay.
just
million
don't think that it
undocumented
was.
people.
Do you think
all
he
of
would have maybe
those
been better on that
so-called
issue than Barack?
dreamers,
I wonder if
those
it would.
DACA
I don't
kids,
think
I
so.
don't know, man.
immediately
The thing
certified
about Joe is that sometimes he does say randomly the right thing if you just
Right.
appeal to his emotions and like
Right.
abstract sensibilities. That's what happened with gay marriage, right?
Oh yeah, when he outed
Like,
Obama on
he
that.
just like
imagine 5
said
years
the right thing because you can
Right.
appeal to his like
Right.
humanity on some level.
Right.
river and it's
Poor Barack.
and it's illegal.
Wonderful.
And you say, oh
I
no,
would have
Mom,
loved
leave
to
me
been a
here.
fly
I'm
in the
not gonna go
wall
with you."
when
They've been here.
Obama
Many of
heard
them are
that.
model citizens.
Did you
Well,
see that clip that was going around today where Barack castigates a trans woman who was
we
a
owe them.
undocumented trans woman who came to a White House event,
Years.
and he like kicked her out of the room and like
Why?
had the whole crowd cheering against her.
And I've changed.
Why?
She was asking him some question about like I don't
We gotta
know immigration, but you couldn't hear her.
Right.
sort of a lot
But he was incredibly patronizing in it.
that they lived with.
I'll
But
forward
he
it to you.
had 8
Yeah.
years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Which I would
President
like
Biden,
to
your
do.
response.
Catch and
as
release.
well.
You know what he's talking about there?
Like
In
that's.
fact, you
But he
had
doesn't have to. This
family
is his.
came across and they
What's
were
it called?
arrested. They in fact were given a
What's the
date to
Superman
show up
thing?
for their hearing. They
For
were
the
ready.
night.
Kryptonite.
Guess
Yeah.
what? They showed up for a hearing.
Okay, I just sent it
It's
to
the
you.
first president in the history of the United States of America that
Twitter.
anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country.
It is weird.
That's
It's
never
like
happened
he's
before
saying
in America.
cages, but
That's never
there is a
happened before in
moral
America. You come to the United
condemnation that
States and
goes
you
with
make
that.
your case
Not just
that,
the
you
hypocrisy.
seek
Like he's
asylum
not just
based on the
calling
following-
that a double
on the following
standard.
premise.
Yeah.
Why deserve it under American law? They're
It's
sitting
not
in
like with
squalor
super
on the
predators
other
where
side
like
of the river.
he didn't say that word. So
President
it's like
Trump,
he
your
can go
response
after him
in
for
30
that, but
seconds, and then
he
we'll move on.
It just
expanded on
shows that he
cages.
has no
Yeah.
understanding of immigration of the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe.
They do.
They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know the
section.
law, Joe.
What?
President Biden.
What
your
happened? What
response.
I
Know the
miss?
law, what he's
You just
telling
said it's the people with the lowest IQ
No,
that they're
they don't
sending
come
over the border.
All right, let's move
But
on.
we don't have to
the
worry
next
about it because they
section.
terminated it. So we don't have to worry about
Let's
it
move
anymore.
on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our
Wow.
next section, which is race in America.
Good
And
segue.
we'll talk about the way Black and Brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that
As a
experience
as a
is
social
something
construct?
called
Just
the
kidding.
talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I
This is a
do.
good
I
question.
do.
Oh, I wanted to go to Trump. I wanted to see Trump being asked
Yeah.
to be empathic.
She's written a lot about this. She's has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons
I don't
why
talk about her very much. I'm very curious about her.
90% African American was to learn more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter if she's
Do you think
pulled
these?
over,
I feel like these
make sure she
questions
puts
though are
for a traffic stop.
very
Put both hands on top of the wheel. and
give
don't reach for
Biden
the
a
glove
lot of
box
wiggle
because
room.
Someone may shoot
Like
you.
give
But a black
like
parent,
socially
no matter
liberal
how wealthy
people.
or how poor they are, has to teach.
Yeah,
them
I would like. First of all, I do not care what either man has to say
Right,
about the
that's-
talk.
yeah.
making sure that
Substantively, I would like to know what they are planning in terms of
no, sir,
criminal justice reform,
Right, exactly. Yeah.
because you
Right.
are
education,
Right.
housing is the number one issue among Black women.
$300,000 a year per.
But that's
Or
the thing
a
that's
topic
like
on-
this should
on-
be
on
them.
food
Like
stamps.
this is something
The
that
fact of the matter
Biden should
is,
introduce.
is-
Like
it's-
he on his own. Like
Right.
the question should be
And we
what
have always
policies.
said
And
Right.
then
lived up to
Biden
it.
can
We
be
hold
like,
these truths to be
I
self-evident. All men
I'll
and
never
women are
know what
created
it's like to
equal.
tell
Guess
my
what?
kid, blah, blah, blah.
We
It's like,
have
this is
never
such a
ever
weird,
lived up to it.
like,
We've always constantly been
Right.
moving
question to
You
ask.
see these like fads emerge where Democrats like
exclusion.
realize there's a thing
The
that makes
first
them seem
person to
like
come along and
Yeah.
say,
woke. And so
that,
first it was like
Exactly.
maternal health, maternal
we have
health.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like the maternal disparity rather. And it's like, it's really important because you can tell everyone just focuses on one issue all at once because that's the thing
Right.
to give you the edge.
Right.
borrow money to
And
Right.
then the talk became a thing over the course of the primary at a certain point when Kamala, like they were all asked about it at some forum.
just to
It's
give
like,
Yeah.
okay, at a certain point it becomes obviously performative. It's not that the question doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right. It matters, but it's like,
violence.
it's not,
President Trump, same
it's
question
not
to you. And
that
let me
should be
remind you of the
part of
question. I
a
would like you to
question,
speak
not the
directly to
question.
these
Like
families
that
so
should,
you
you know,
understand
like,
why
Yeah, they can use that to wiggle out of a substantive policy answer, but don't offer
yeah.
them matter.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black
Woke
community.
Trump.
And
Woke
they were
Trump.
called,
I'm almost out.
he said that. He
No,
said it,
Hillary
super
said that.
predators,
He come on, give
and they
credit where
never
credit
lived
is
that
due.
down. 1994.
Well, he did say predator, and there's a clip that is
Oh, he did, but
predators.
just not
damning.
super.
He has done more.
Yeah,
for
we put it
community.
in the debate episode we did after the last debate on
Oh, okay.
the podcast.
The
Bad
one I
Faith
was on?
Pod.
What? Oh no,
Exception, with
not
the
that one. The
exception
other
No,
one.
yes, the one that you were on.
Nobody has done
Listeners, go listen to Katie
criminal justice reform.
on Bad Faith Podcast, and we inserted the clip
Oh, yeah,
of
you're
him
right.
saying
No, right.
predator.
I was thinking of the vice president one
They
now.
had no
But
chance.
you should listen to the whole clip too. We only were able to put like a minute, but there's like a 3-minute clip. It's
I'm
worse than anything Hillary has said, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not a pretty
Yeah.
picture, and everybody
No,
knows
he
it.
he
including
goes
some
very
liberal
far
people
into.
that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, "Gee, we have to defeat him." Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the Black and Hispanic communities, and then historically Black colleges and universities.
That's the thing. This is true. Like Obama had a very
office,
um,
and they said, I said,
stressed relationship with HBCUs.
coming back.
There was funding cuts.
Said, you
Trump
don't
not only increased funding to historical levels, but made the funding permanent.
never give them long-term funding.
Like,
There you go.
I did.
See,
10 years,
and then you're going to get called a
long-term funding.
Trumpian, but
They
it's
gave them
actually
more
we
money
want
than they
the
asked for.
Democrats
Because
to
I
be
think-
better on these issues.
Why-
It's not
why-
like, yeah,
Only
right.
bad
they have set it up. The
Proceed.
bar is so low that Trump can
Right.
do something very superficial and
Yeah,
outpace what
exactly.
Democrats have done for Black people.
Colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your
Oh,
response
he's leaning.
to
He's
that,
getting
President.
tired. I mean, I'd be tired if I was standing
never said
that long.
what he accused me of saying.
How does
The
he do
fact of
that?
the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while,
I'm surprised
this is
Trump
the
hasn't
guy
brought
who
up
said,
what would
"The
have happened
problem with
to
the crime bill,
Hunter
There's not enough people in jail.
if
Not
he
enough
weren't your
people in jail."
son. Would
And
he be
go
in
on
jail?
the website, get the quote, the date.
He's
when
not
he
quite that woke.
enough people.
Yeah.
He
I
talked
guess, yeah.
about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This
We
is
talked about that, homie. Like, what?
black kids. He continued to push for making sure that they got
The sentence.
Sorry.
none of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted.
He just
he
pulled an
did, in
Amy
fact,
Goodman.
let
Talk
20 people,
about.
he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run.
It's like
I
Bernie
ran
talking to
because
Hillary
of you.
Clinton.
I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some
Yeah.
questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race.
This is my
I'm
feeling.
anxious to see
What
this
Brad said.
take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up.
Excuse me.
Please respond,
If
and then we're
this
going to have
Excuse me.
follow-up
is
questions.
true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true,
Other
then he's a
countries,
corrupt
right.
politician.
Other
So
countries.
don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling
is
you a
simple.
corrupt politician.
They.
Nobody.
look
President
at the
Trump, I
laptop
want to
from
stay
hell.
on the issue
Excuse
of
me,
race. We're
take a look
talking
at
about the issue.
laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're
Nobody.
talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
And I
you've
have to
just
respond to that.
Please.
Because look,
very
there
quickly.
are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And
You
that's
gotta be-
exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly what.
This
was
is
told.
where he's going. The
All right.
laptop is Russia,
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President,
again with Russia.
We're going to continue
Boy, oh
on the
boy.
issue of race. Mr. President,
I mean,
you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that Black professional athletes
Bree, you got the link,
exercising
right?
their First
Yeah,
Amendment
I'm putting it
rights
to you in
should
the
be
chat so
fired.
you can post
What do you
it.
say to Americans
tweet-
who say that kind of
you
language
tweeted it?
from a
So I
president
sent it to you in this chat,
contributed to a climate of hate and racial
in this
strife?
app. I also sent it to you in your Twitter
Heard
feed.
of Black Lives Matter.
Oh. But you got
They
the
were
tweet. I
chanting,
mean, you got the
Pigs
link
in
to
a
this,
blanket,
right?
Talking about police. Pigs.
Oh yeah, I tweeted that.
Okay,
at the
great.
beginning.
Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were
Horrible
marching
thing.
down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships
With the
all
blacks.
people.
He said, remember, he
I
said,
am the
hate
least
with the blacks.
racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans
Oh Lord.
that rhetoric?
I don't know. I mean, I don't
What
know
about the
to
low
say. I got
IQ
criminal justice
Mexicans?
reform done and prison reform and
Hey,
opportunity.
you didn't say they're all low IQ, just that they're sitting the low IQ.
I took care of black
I
college.
know
Yeah.
what to say. They can say anything.
What about, dude, bring up the
they can say
Mexican
anything.
stuff. Hello?
It makes me sad
What's your,
because I am the least racist person.
Oh,
I
is she
keep
black?
the audience.
The
because I
moderator?
I think so.
don't
Yeah.
care who's in the audience.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got you like real small. I'm not familiar with her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But no,
Vice
I was just
President
saying
Biden,
she
let me
should have
ask
said, what
you
about
very
Mexican
quickly, and then I
people?
have a follow-up
Yeah.
question for you.
Marco Hill just tweeted. He said that to a black moderator. I can't believe it. I was
Right.
like,
Oh, I
oh,
see. Yeah.
Pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of
There you
those
go.
Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims.
That's not my favorite Trump hit, as I've explained before, but it's
Everything
fine.
worse
What?
across the board. He
The-
says
The
poor boy,
Mexican
last
rapist
time on
hit.
stage, he said, I
Because
told him
people
to
who like
stand-
Trump just say
stand
he wasn't talking about all Mexicans, and it's not the most effective example of his racism if you're actually trying to convince people.
And then I have a
Right.
follow-up
No,
question.
he made a reference to
'Cause he's-
Abraham
yeah.
Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said
where
you're
did that-
Abraham
No,
Lincoln.
where did that?
Yeah, you
No,
did, Trump.
No,
You said
I said not
Since,
since
not
Abraham
since, yeah.
Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
and I'm
I
saying
didn't
He's-
say I'm
He's being
Abraham Lincoln.
humble
I
because
said
he's saying,
not since
besides Abraham Lincoln, he's the
has
best.
anybody done what I've
But you,
done for
he's
the black
responding in a way that he
community?
clearly
No,
considered the
you
talking
have done
point, I
nothing
am
other
better
than the
than
crime
or as
bill.
good as Lincoln.
Oh boy. This is not the semantic battle I expected.
Mostly in jail.
All right.
You
so
guys,
know
everyone
what?
like
Let
this
me
stream
ask
and
Vice
share it.
President
Like
Biden-
and
Look
share.
at what's happening with the voting right
Like
now.
and share,
Let me
Ron.
ask
They
Vice
remember
President
that you
Biden
treated them
about-
very, very badly.
Just
Very,
Take a
very
look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime
Okay.
bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
Talk
One of
about
the things is that
Good
in
question.
the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how
That's a
to
good
deal with
point,
drugs.
Sparks.
It was a mistake. I've been trying to change
But
the
these
sense
things
of
are
particularly the portion on
coded.
cocaine. That's why
Yeah.
I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment.
Oh, I have to do
across the board.
a
That's
tech
what
check
we should be
for
Okay.
running. That's why
the other
Senate
podcast.
drug
Can I
courts
go
were
and come
never
back?
funded
Yeah.
by our Republican
Okay.
friends.
Bye, I'll be back.
They should
great.
not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem.
Matt couldn't be
They
here
should
today.
Going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think maybe the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug, but they were not in the crime bill.
But
Okay,
why
so-
didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a
Your
lot of it
response.
done. We released
You didn't get
38,000. We
anything
got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from the
You got
out-
nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process.
Oh, that's the
We began
Biden
the
check
process.
please line.
We
I
lost
could
an
go
election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I
Quick
just
response,
asked,
and then we're
I
going to
just
move
asked
on
one
to climate
question.
change.
Why
Oh.
didn't you do it in the years a short time ago?
1:22
Why
minutes and
didn't
we're
you do
getting
it? You
to
just said,
climate.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. You put tens
Because-
of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why,
Because-
Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President
Because
Biden,
we
and
had-
then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress. That's the answer.
Well, you
Okay.
got to talk them into it, Joe. Sometimes you got to talk them into
Oh my
it.
We're going to
God.
move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had
Okay.
to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
Oh my
we're
God.
running out of
Done it.
time, so we got to get on to
Okay.
climate change, please.
All right,
You both
an
have
hour and
very
22
different visions
minutes
on
into
climate
it, we
change.
talk about
President
climate.
Trump, you
Sounds
say
about
that
right.
environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water,
Oh
the
my
cleanest air.
God.
We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands
Hey.
of companies
Hey,
because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until
so 83
2030.
minutes in is when they
Russia
think it's
goes
a good
back to
idea
a
to bring
low
up
standard,
climate
and
change.
I
we
miss climate
kicked in
change.
right away.
Literally,
It
you're
would've
gone for a
been- it
minute
would've-
and you'll
it
miss
would've
it.
destroyed our businesses. So,
You can't
ready?
blink.
we have done
Oh,
an
man.
Hope
incredible
your channel
job
grows, Katie.
environmentally.
Thanks, Alex.
We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission
Matt
standards
couldn't be
that
here.
we've seen in many, many years.
Oh,
Vice
wait, are
President
you
Biden.
Alex,
Haven't
who
destroyed
I
our
know who's
industries.
Matt's friend?
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you uninterrupted.
Alex Marks.
Climate change,
Yeah.
climate warming.
Matt
global
who?
warming is an
Isn't that her
existential
name?
threat to
Maybe it's
humanity.
not the same Alex.
We have a moral
ALIX.
Yeah, that's the only person I know who spells it
told
like
by
that. That's
all
why I
the
was
leading
wondering.
scientists in the world.
Like a
we
friend of a
don't
friend
have
from
much
college.
time.
Oh,
We're going to pass the point of no return
Mm-hmm.
within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us
What time
to
is your
clean up the climate.
appearance?
Oh, I
the
have to go
next
back
day?
at 10:55.
Okay. Oh, so we can actually
limited
talk a little after
emissions
this.
will put us in a position
How long
where
is it
we're going
supposed
to
to
be in
go?
real trouble.
I think it ends
Here's
at
where we have a
10:30,
great
but is that
opportunity.
possible?
I was able to get both
I don't know, man.
environmental
I hope
organizations
so,
as
because I
well
got to
as
tinkle a
labor,
little bit.
people worried about jobs, to
We'll make sure to
support
build in a
my
tinkle
climate
break.
plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations.
Brad, of course I had
on
my
our
mute button.
highways
It's
so
on
that
my
we can
denim
own
jacket, and I
electric
had it
car
on the other
market in
day.
future.
What?
In the meantime, China is
Brad
doing
Bloom
that.
asked if
We're
I
going to
have
be in
the
a
new
position
antenna
where we're
button that
going
he
to
gave
see
me,
to it
and it's a
that we're
permanent
going to
installation
take
on my denim
4
jacket
million
with
existing
my
buildings,
union pin
2 million existing homes,
from the
and
campaign
retrofit them
and my
so
little
they
Bernie
don't
pin.
leak as much energy, saving hundreds of
By the
millions of
way,
barrels of
you
oil
missed it.
in the
He's like,
process
I love
and
the
creating
environment. I
significant
want
number of
crystal clear
jobs.
water.
And by the way,
Crystal
the
clear.
whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions
God,
of jobs, and it's going to
what
clean
a
the
one-man
environment. Our
comedy
health
troupe.
and our jobs
He's
are
good.
at stake. That's what's happening.
If only
And
he
what,
weren't
right now,
president.
by the way,
I
Wall
know.
Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street.
How is
And
that possible? I'm
create
not trying
$1
to
trillion more in
undermine
economic growth
Biden,
than
but
his proposal
Bernie's
does.
plan, which is a
Not on
$16 trillion
climate, just on the
plan, was
economy.
geared to
President
plan,
Trump,
was
Today
scheduled
came
to
out
create 20
and
million
said very
jobs.
strongly,
Biden's saying his $2 trillion plan
$6,500
is
will be
estimated to
taken
do
away
the
from
same.
families under his plan.
I don't
That
quite
his plan is
get
an
it.
economic disaster. If you look at
We're
what
gonna
he
have to do
wants
an
to do,
environmental episode on
if you look
Yeah.
at his
podcast
Nothing
soon.
to do with
environmental
climate.
plan, you know who developed it?
Maybe next week.
AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate.
AOC plus
I mean,
3.
she's
Did
got
he
this
just come
line
up
of
with
stuff,
that?
but she knows nothing
That is,
about the
I
climate.
don't like when he
And
does
they're all
pre-written stuff.
hopping
It's
through
not in his
hoops for
nature.
AOC plus
AOC
When he
is
does
good,
what?
actually. When
Their
he
real
seems to
plan
do things
costs
that were written in
$100
advance.
trillion.
I like
Oh.
If
spontaneous,
we had
Right.
the best
but
Yeah.
year in the
it's
history of our
No, his whole
quality.
style,
for
what makes him
100
great is
years,
when he's
we would
spontaneous.
not even come
Right.
close to a number like that. When he says
It's
buildings,
kind of
they wanna
creative though,
take
the
buildings
squad,
down because they
AOC
want to
plus
make
3,
bigger windows into smaller windows.
rhymes.
As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that
It's a
anybody has
window-free
ever seen.
plan.
And this wasn't done by smart people.
What
This
is-
wasn't
excuse me.
done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it could be good
All right.
politically. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
let me have the vice president
It
respond,
is
and we're running out of
crazy.
time, and we have a lot
And
more
you'll
questions to
destroy
get
our
to. So
country.
let's hear from the vice president. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This is plans endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, 45, 50 bucks an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump,
Excuse me.
please
We are
respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are
Obama
energy independent.
bragged
You
about
know
that,
more about wind than
famously.
you do. It's
I'm the one
extremely
who got
expensive.
did all the
Kills all
cracking.
the
I'm the one that
birds.
Right.
expanded
It's very
oil. I'm the
intermittent,
one that made us
a lot
energy
of
independent.
problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer
God
in
damn it.
carbon
I
emissions,
did like an
the
identical
fumes
tweet to the
coming up to
Gravel
make these
Institute, which
massive windmills
maybe means I
is
still have
more than
useful
anything that we're talking
Right.
about with
ingenuity at my
natural
back.
gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Great minds think
Solar.
alike.
Great minds. I
love
beat them
solar,
though.
but solar
So
doesn't quite have it yet.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not
right. You're like, they're
powerful
not
yet
equally great.
to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need
Big,
to compete
beautiful
with the world.
tests.
So
False.
it's
And
all
Rustica
pipe
says,
dreams.
Katie, you're way
But you know
smarter than
what
me.
we'll do?
I don't know if that's
We're
true.
gonna
I
have the
don't, because I
greatest
don't know.
economy in the world. But if you
First
wanna
name,
kill
last
the
name, rights. The
economy,
future
get
lies in us
rid of
being able to
your
breathe.
oil
I know that
industry.
was kind of
You want-
amazing.
And
An
what
amazing
about fracking?
All right,
tweet.
Now we
let
have
me
to
have,
ask
let
him
me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President.
Now we
I
have to ask him
just
about
never
fracking. It's
said
hilarious.
I oppose fracking.
You said it on
I-
tape.
I did show the
this is
tape.
my
Put it
least
on your
favorite.
website.
Put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is
Showed
he's
it last
flat lying.
Would you
Flat-
rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then
Excuse me,
we have.
he was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I
Good.
am against fracking. Until he
His
got the
Biden
nomination,
impersonation
went
isn't
to
very good.
Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania?
It sounds
He'll be
like,
against it
every
very
time I
soon
hear
because his
Trump, he just
party
sounds like he's
is
doing
totally against it.
he's
Fracking
as
on
Trump
federal land, I
impersonator.
said no fracking
You
and
said
or
fracking.
oil
I
on
didn't say
federal
Let
land.
me ask this
I
final
did.
question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's
I'm really
9
kind of
times
surprised he
greater the
hasn't said
percentage
Latinx.
gain than it was under
Maybe he
in
feels like
3
he has to
years
dig himself
than
out
it
of all
was
this
under
China
8
stuff
years
and
Right.
Pelosi dancing in
of, two
Chinatown.
of them,
Throw
to put it nicely.
a
9
bone to the
times
Asian
more.
American community.
Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it. And I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. We
Okay.
saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All
And
right.
everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice
that.
President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And all the
Not
oil
Scranton.
refineries and Mississippi and Delaware
Oh
River
my
were
God.
not any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom got in the car on her first frost to drive me to school, turning the windshield up, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them. It matters how you keep them
Doesn't
safe.
matter.
What do you do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final
Would he
question.
close
It
down
falls-
the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you
Mute
close
him.
down the
It
oil
falls-
By the way,
industry?
Mute
I
him.
would transition from the oil industry, yes. I
Oh,
will
that's a big
transition.
statement.
It is a big statement
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because
Because the
oil
environment
industry
is going
pollutes
to
significantly.
shitter.
Listen,
Here's the deal, but you
That's a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time, And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give it
right.
to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
we have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I
Ohio.
have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
She's been trying to get to
Takes
that final
everything out of
question
context,
for
but the
4
point
minutes
is,
at my
look,
count.
I know.
we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he gonna
final
get
question
China to
both
do
of
it?
you. No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We have
going to
to
get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our final
rejoin Paris
question.
Accord and make
Oh.
China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best Black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women,
Sorry, this man's
Asian,
cadence.
people with
I know.
diplomas, with no
Like he can
diplomas,
say something
MIT
completely
graduates,
innocent and
number one
sometimes
in the
manages
class.
to make it sound
Everybody had
racist.
the best
We
numbers.
had the best
And you know what? The other
Black,
side wanted to get together. They
Asian,
wanted to
Asian,
unify. Success
Hispanic,
is going to bring us together.
the plague.
We
That
are
was
on the
also
road
nice.
to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he
my
wants to
friend just
raise
texted me.
everybody's
He had the
taxes, and
best
he wants to put
Black.
new regulations
What
I
did
did
you
on
not
do?
like how he
He
said
will
Black.
kill it. If he
Mm.
My
gets
friends are
in,
texting
you
me
will
all
have a
caps. I did
depression, the
not like
likes
how
of
he
which
said
you've
Black.
never seen. Your
I know,
401ks
it's
will
really
go to
scary.
hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to
FYI,
do.
fracking
And
is
I'm going
not
to say,
energy.
as I said at the
Right.
beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic
She
debate.
did great. I
Dealing
really
with
want to give
Yeah,
it up
she
to
did.
President Trump,
this
former
woman.
Vice President
Yeah.
What's her
Joe
name?
Biden. Thank
got
you
it.
to
Kristen
Belmont
Welker.
University for
Kristen
hosting us
Welker, I'm
tonight. And
bookmarking
most
it. She
importantly,
did
thank
an
you to those
excellent
watching
job.
Yes, she
tonight.
It
did.
might have been
Election Day
completely
is
her. It could have
November
been the
3rd.
format that was helping
Don't
her, but
forget to
regardless, the
vote.
decisions that were
Thank
made
you,
for
everyone.
today
Yeah.
Have a great
were
night.
a big
Yeah.
improvement, and she should feel really good about herself today.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit, they cut off the mics, right? They had the potential to do that, which is
Yeah, I guess
really helpful.
I didn't feel like I saw that happen. But
Oh
they
my
just ran away
God.
with
Oh
that.
my God. Like Phantom of the Opera.
Look, she got the mask on. Let's applaud the progress. She got herself. She got COVID once. She's not getting it again.
Oh my God. Oh, that's not, I like that. It's coordinated. That's cool. I actually
Look,
really,
Melania deserves a lot of criticism for a lot of substantive reasons, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that she doesn't slay looks.
yeah, but she's
I'm
just
sorry,
too,
she's a model. She
I
doesn't have
know,
some clothes
but it
on.
looks very scary. I just think it's, oh my God, what did Trump just do? Oh no, it's Biden. Oh yeah, I used to talk with the Biden lunge.
What did he just do?
The
What was
jazzy
that?
lunge, when he does a lunge. He probably said something to her and he lunged over.
Well, I would like to say I hope I'm as nimble as either man when I'm in my late 70s.
I know.
This whole election season has been an advertisement for how if you're affluent,
Right, your health is,
your
yeah.
health is excellent.
Yeah, but what about Bernie? Oh, right, he did have the heart
Bernie
attack.
looks-
But
yeah, but
he's
he
in
bounced
great,
back in like
yeah, he's in
4
great
days.
shape.
Looks fantastic. It was a relatively mild number. Cheney's out here walking around with a pig heart. I mean,
I know. I hope they didn't have to kill
Dr.
anyone
Dino
for that. That's terrible. They should not kill anyone for that.
for the pig heart. I mean,
I mean,
pig,
for any,
believe,
yeah,
had to
I know, but
die.
I know I wanted it to die. I hope it died naturally, but I have a feeling it didn't.
I don't think they.
That's awful. I cannot believe they killed pigs. Are so innocent, and they killed one for Cheney. That's really awful.
And now it's time to hear from you
yes.
and get your
All right,
Well,
let's close this out. Let's just talk.
Katie, my feelings were that that was a very well run debate, a very well executed debate, and the debate host was excellent. Although she could have raised a different quality of question and earlier in the debate and had less discourse around Burisma,
Right.
Russia,
Right.
etc.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, though, these things are pretty short. You
Yeah.
know, an hour and a half is not that long. I don't know. What do you think? Are any hearts and minds going to change over this?
I don't know. I mean, I think that Ted, after watching this, I need to take a shower. That's probably the consensus. I kind of feel like it's like there's a standard and then there's a Trump standard. And I kind of feel like I wonder if this was on purpose. He's been like acting like such a maniac that this was almost like Oh my God, amazing. Wow. Like this made him that left a lot of room for him to look presidential.
So people who
For
follow me on
him. For
yeah,
him.
no, I get it.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it. So for people who follow me on Twitter, I have been doing a West Wing marathon. I'm going on the West Wing thing tomorrow to record. And
I did. That's a great show.
I just watched an episode where it's like the election episode, and he's running against this like proto George Bush, George W. Republican type who's supposed to be very dumb. And it's like it was happening when George Bush was in office, and so it was like this fantasy of how like the libs could actually own right wingers for being so stupid, and like how much they hate and pathologize intellectualism in the academy and the East Coast schools and all of that stuff. But in this lead up to the election episode, they start to get really worried that the bar is so low for this guy because he's been doing so poorly, because he's kind of fallen for every trap, because he is so simple-minded that he can just stand up straight during the debate, and it's going to be bad for Bartlett. And that does kind of feel like the situation that we are in right now. And I don't know, like I think the pundit class largely ignores the extent to which we're talking about a very like narrow subset of the population, people who haven't made up their minds, people who, and him coming off as like not terrible, like not monstrous, like basically advocating for maintenance of the status quo, under which obviously a lot of people are really struggling, but a lot of his core voters who are average like $70,000 a year are like less in the cohort that are really taking the brunt of this.
Right.
And maybe all they need is reassurance that he's not a complete monster. Biden comes off as probably as corrupt. You know, all of the signals that he's sending out, all these words that are going over our heads because we aren't on the Facebook right-wing feed, are landing punches that people who are in the room don't even understand. Yeah. And this could be the thing that just gives people an excuse to go ahead and continue to vote for him.
Right. But yeah, I mean, the big fear that I have is that, that the early votes are looking good, but the fear I have is that the people who turn out are going to be so overwhelmingly Republican, like on, November 3rd, because the COVID skeptics.
I think that's a possibility. But what is it like? There are all these states where the number of people who have voted absentee is already 50% of the entire vote total from 2016. Yeah. I do think a lot of Democrats are also planning to vote in person. Yeah. And that was like a week ago. Who knows? Like, I just sent my absentee ballot in yesterday. So a lot of people are just now kind of.
Where are you registered? New York?
In New York. Yeah.
What'd you do? You don't have to tell us.
The internet.
Did you write someone in? Okay.
I did not write someone in. I don't think people talk about throwing away one's vote. I don't think that's that's not a strategic option to write someone in, as much as that might be emotionally satisfying. And I'm nothing if not a strategic voter. So, but the point is that like, I don't feel like, I feel like that those numbers might even go even higher. Plus you've seen these long lines for early voting. Right. Yeah, I think it looks good for Biden, but you never know.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary. I don't know. I still think anything could happen, but he did seem this is what happened when I saw the in 2016 I was in Cleveland for the RNC, and I remember seeing Trump speak, and everyone on MSNBC was like, there's going to be outrageously racist nativist discourse, and there wasn't anything for him that was outrageous. So I feel like that also had kind of a, the bar was so high that so high for bad stuff, so low, that it also made it almost like you're like, oh, okay. Like if you're one of his voters who's, now it's different, but at least then if you were a voter of his who didn't particularly love the xenophobia stuff, he would have been maybe okay, like not scared you off. A potential voter, I should say. Yeah, I think that's right. Like, it drives me crazy because for all of the vote blue, no matter who is him, Democrats who say, "Oh, yes, I agree. I don't love Biden. Yes, Biden has been accused of sexual assault. Biden has all of these. Biden Social Security. Biden crime bill. Yeah, I get it. I understand. You're right, but we just got to get Trump out of office." I don't know why they don't understand that the exact same narrative is going on the right. And there's plenty of Republicans who think, oh, yes, Trump is a xenophobe. Oh, yes, Trump is a many times over accused rapist. Trump is horrible, sincerely.
but at the end of the day, we need to get our Supreme Court justices in. And
Yeah,
it's
like
about a
Mitt
bigger project
Romney.
than that. Like Mitt Romney. So like I don't like by the very same logic that you're using to appeal to Democrats to vote for Biden, Republicans are doing the same thing and pretending like they have to be uniquely racist. I'm not saying that there isn't a willingness to ignore racism,
Right.
but the
But
idea
primarily driven by.
right, and they have the same long-term goals that Democrats do in the inverse.
Right.
And so all they need is an excuse that this man is not actually at a step with the norms, such that we're not going to be able to return to norms in 4 years. And perhaps he provided that assurance this evening.
Yeah. By the way, Zach Boyle says if Trump thought it was a GOP primary, he'd crush Biden. If Biden thought he was a Democrat, he'd crush Trump. Instead, two racist idiots acting tough, arguing against things they've both done themselves. Pretty good summary, yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people recognize this is, we have a one-party system at this point, especially people like under 30. So we'll see how much longer they can do this tap dance, and we'll see how much all the people who say yes, we'll vote for Biden and we'll resist the day after really do put their money where their mouth is. And I'm going on with Cornel West. I'm going to have to hop off in a second, right after this. And he's someone who has said as much and said that he's voting for Biden and endorses Biden, and that that on November 4th, the real battle starts. And I want to ask, I want to be having substantive conversations the way we had that substantive conversation, or attempted to have a substantive conversation with Noam Chomsky about what that looks like. Because I believe in activism and organizing, but I don't believe in people who use it as a cudgel to minimize the extent to which part of one's power, part of the power that you can organize for, can be implemented through electoral means, and who use the specter of activism as a way to basically pacify people, and argue that, progress takes time, don't ask for that much, to make people feel like they don't have to act with exigency in the context of their own life.
Right. I mean, I do think it's different. I'm going to ask you to send Cornel West to share with him, or I'll find his email, but that sounded like such a humble brag or something. But no. I want you to show him this clip of my uncle. I'll send it to you. I played it for people the other night, but he's saying how like neo-fascists, you organize more under, and Joshua Kahn Russell said this last night too, which is basically the point that like you can organize more under, you can like fight back and organize more under neoliberals than you can under neo-fascists.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think that's like, there are lots of, I think that is a strength. That is a strength on one side of the argument.
Yeah.
And I do think it's different when someone like Cornel West says that, because he is someone who like embraces, the struggle.
Yeah.
But it is true. It's like, what's the plan? I think we need to have a plan. I really think we have to have a plan, like a pre-plan, because if not, he's going to get into office and what happens? And the one thing that gives me some, not solace, some like a glimmer of hope is that the Bernie expectation gap, like having Bernie in the race and having him be as close to winning as it was, like when Obama came in and he sucked, everyone's afraid that Biden's going to be the good guy coming in after bad guy, right? Like, so you got Obama in after Bush, and no one's going to pay attention to what he's doing. Now we're going to have Biden after Trump. No one's going to be paying attention to how bad he is. Mm-hmm. But I do, the one thing we have is that like the potential and the successes that Sanders showed will create, I think, hopefully, a demand. Like, it's no longer possible to say that stuff is impossible.
Right. And I think that Bernie just radicalized a lot of people, including myself. I was paying attention after 2016 in a way that I frankly can admit that I wasn't in 2012, or especially before like Occupy. So I think that's right, and the point about the ease of organizing under a Democratic president is legitimate. But I also think that you can't say that without also acknowledging the extent to which people do go to brunch and stop caring under a Democratic president, and you have to weigh those things against each other. And I'm not an organizer. I'm not going to pretend to say that one militates in one direction or another. And I think I tweeted this the other day. Nathan Robinson and Benjamin Studebaker had a debate about whether or not one should vote for Biden, and Studebaker took a little bit more of the accelerationist approach. And to me, the fundamental issue is that we don't know whether accelerationism works, right? It's not, we don't know for sure whether a second term of Trump will yield the results that we would hope in terms of radicalizing the public. Right. And given the unknown and given the enormous risk of Trump, it makes sense to say, okay, well, let me just not even gamble with people's lives that way. Let me go ahead and vote for Biden or at least not vote for Trump. Like, I completely understand that argument. But if you are taking that approach, I think it's incumbent on you to do the work to lay out the ground plan for how you're going to get away the very real risk of voter apathy. And the people who want to talk about, voting for Biden and vote no matter who and non-accelerationism and all of those things and how we need to do activism, but who never say a single word about what that activism looks like, or won't entertain using the threat of building small electoral coalitions in key states to force whoever the Democratic nominee is 4 years, 8 years from now to do better than what they've done currently. I have there's like a credibility gulf. And that's what I wanted to hear from Chomsky, not, oh, no, you're right, don't vote for Biden. No, that wasn't our argument at all. What I wanted to hear was, okay, this is how we're going to hold people accountable, because the ways in which we've been trying it haven't worked, including during the biggest public uprising, the biggest protest movement in American history, which had zero effect, frankly, if we're going to be really honest, had little to no effect on Joe Biden during the course of the last 6 months.
Yeah, right. No, and I think you're totally right. And I think that, like, I wanted a much more substantive. I was a disappointing debate. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I was sad because I feel like you guys are both intellectual. You're both smart people. I know it's not like.
Well, no, I'm a dumb moron who doesn't understand.
That's the other thing. It's like, why don't you just hate Brie? Why don't you just say Brie's an asshole and say she's like a terrible person? Like, that's that. I mean, that has no merit to it. But you can. It's not on its face. You know what I mean? But like, you don't know what Brie's like. But like, she's smart. Like, just call her like something else.
Well, no, a lot of people don't think that I'm smart. A lot of people, I think, are deeply invested in Noam Chomsky as a public figure for ways in which I respect and appreciate. And I certainly have no interest in maligning him or the work that he's done and his contributions to society. But I was hoping, for all of the rhetoric about how I personally disrespected Professor Chomsky, I would never dream of doing that. And, Virgil makes his jokes. He's a comedian. I think that anyone who knows him understands the bit he was doing for engagement reasons online. But like, I sincerely wanted to know the answers to questions. And I wasn't trying to weaponize my identity. I was trying to bring the experiences of people that I know and love to the fore and say, this is an example of a real voter who I know, who is more concerned with the pressing issues in their own lives and the extent to which the Democratic Party has ignored those issues despite their faithful voting and our Black community's faithful voting for Democrats for literally generations. What can I tell someone like that that is going to make them believe that something's going to be different in the future? And what can we do to make sure that something's different going forward? And the answer that I got was, it only takes 10 minutes to vote. You got to just vote for Biden. If you don't, it means you don't care about the environment. And that was pretty disappointing. And I would love for Professor Thompson to come back and engage with us further if he feels like that's misrepresenting his argument. And I hope that people do listen to the interview in full if they can. I understand that it's paywalled and it won't be forever, but we appreciate everybody who has tuned in so far and made the podcast a success. I'm so sorry I got to hop off because I got a people, and they told me to come back at 10:55.
Okay, great. Well, tell Cornell West I say hi. And I'm going to text you this video because I think he would have gotten a kick out of my uncle, who basically has the same view as Cornell.
Please do. And I someone in the chat asked for the link to the Cornell podcast, and I just I sent it to you in the context of this thing we're in.
Great. That's the okay. I'll post it now. Let me do that now. All right, I got it. It's your tweet, right? You tweeted about it?
Yeah. That's what I think. Yeah, it's tweet. You guys are great. I love Katie. Yes. She's the best. Continue to always
love Brie.
I think she's the most entertaining, funniest, charming, smartest person on the left. She was one of my first people I engaged with ever on the left. I'll be forever grateful to her. I think she's an absolute doll.
Wow. Thanks, Brie. Thank you.
Anytime,
you read it exactly how I texted it to you. Perfect. Not a false note. Yeah.
All right, girls. Stay safe.
Bye. All right, I'll stay on, guys. All right. Well, that was an interesting debate, huh? She's smart. It drives me crazy when people say she's not smart. I hate that. Any questions? Sorry, I'm having this sangria thing, and so I'm eating the little apple things. What was everyone's favorite part of the debate? Oh, question. Who do you think I should have on to have a debate? She's very smart in real IRL too. Yeah, who do you think I should have on for the debate? We love Katie too. Well, I thought you were eating chocolates. No. Innocent baby. Yeah, any thoughts? Any questions about that? Looking at his watch. I don't know. I have to admit though, yeah, it is. There's this weird. It is weird that like Trump will sometimes get like channeled the leftist critique. I mean, it's because he has no principles and because Biden's so bad. But I don't know. I feel like usually, by the way, people are more vocal. Like it's showing in a way that the left has won, but I feel like usually people are more vocal. Like there's all this pressure to vote blue no matter who, but I feel like in this scene or in my chat at least, it's like the shaming happens the other way. So it's like, how dare you say you're going to encourage people to vote for Biden in a swing state, or how dare you vote for Biden in a swing state? So I'm going to say to you guys, to my friends out there who take that to are very anti, don't vote for Biden in swing states. This is a little PSA. I don't want to hear the condescension. First of all, I'm not saying this because you don't know who I'm going to vote for. But you don't need to say that stuff about Aaron Mate or Noam Chomsky or whomever comes on and says that. And it really drives me crazy because it's like the same type of just obnoxious, like you're not making a good argument by just calling someone a neoliberal shill. So, and it's because I'm like, I guess, exposed to the left more that I have to hear that more. Because honestly, the people who shame people for not voting for Biden, you know, I don't know. Tim Black is neither one. He's not going to vote for either one. I don't know. Yeah, I just hate the knee-jerk neoliberal shill thing. It's driving me crazy because there's a real use and value in that term. And yeah, Paula Jean is running. I had her on. Chomsky is not funded by the Pentagon. Ad hominem is the only way to keep it funny. What did yeah, he is from Queens. He's from a fancy part of Queens, Donald Trump. Sorry, I'm reading the comments to see. Trump said he was, Brian Frederick writes, Trump said he was from Queens. He is. He's from Jamaica Estates, right? Right, Phil? My dad's from my dad went to Jamaica High, by the way. By the way, have you guys all subscribed to this channel? I even made a little subscribe video. Well, a video that had that in there. Oh, so guys, you have any suggestions about, yeah, vote shaming sucks, but what about vote shaming? Like not vote shaming as in you have to vote for Biden, but what about the like, oh, you're voting for Biden in a swing state? Guess you don't understand how the world works. Huh? You know what I mean? It drives me crazy because I expect more from these people because I agree with them on lots of things. Chomsky's the whole reason generation of leftists exists. Biden wants to defund the oil industry. Lol, wow. Yeah, this is a threat. If y'all ain't subscribed, once this pandemic is over, I will find you. That's what Brad said. By the way, not to brag, but someone else from another Katie Halper show bump, Aisha Krishnaswamy, who we had on just this week, she got banned from Twitter for saying like, kill the Joe McCarthy in your head. So make sure you, here, I'll send you the tweet so you can retweet it. Oh, it's my, let's see. And if you missed it, make sure you watch the video. Where are we? Sorry about this. Okay, here it is. Oh, wait, can I put in a link? I can, right? Does that show up or no? They're not shills. They've been frightened. Yeah, but is it bad to be frightened by more Trump? Would you prefer vote encouraging Katie? Lol, JK, love your show. Thanks. Talk to Yasha Levine about Chomsky funding. Thin-skinned? No, it's not my problem. I don't care if you say that. Actually, who said that? Thin-skinned. I have to see your other comments, JC, but it's not thin-skinned. I actually don't think it's good organizing. Like, do you realize what you come off to other people the way the assholes who are like, you have blood on your hands, you murderer, vote blue no matter who, you privileged, or you're just white privilege. Like, you're the equivalent of that when you say the neoliberal shill stuff, in my opinion. Thanks, Jose. Aisha's super sweet, but she's like savage in a good way. She's like brutal, like, you know, no, what is it? Takes no prisoners. So look at the tweet; it's in there. And then thank you, Birdman. Thank you, Jose Gutierrez. What else? Shaming is instead of a good argument. Yeah, I think that's true, and I get it because I think a lot of people like feel so much solidarity with, and like are so happy to hear arguments that aren't voter shaming. I think that when I say stuff that isn't like it's terrible to vote for Biden in a swing state, I think some people think it's like it's a like betrayal. Better to be frightened than a neoliberal shill, right? I just think a lot of people who are voting for Biden are for Biden in a swing state are, at least in our worlds, are not. It's not that they don't understand that the Dems are too close to the Republicans. No. Her savage side is on Twitter. Aisha's savage side. Derek Jensen, who's that? That sounds familiar. I shouldn't say that. Then if I say that, then the person will never come on. If I publicly say I don't know who that person is. Oh my God, I want Sacha Baron Cohen would be great. Also, yeah, I don't know. We don't have to be that like. He's awesome, in my opinion. Yeah. Chomsky's criticized Dems more than, yeah, that's the thing. That's what drives me crazy about the Chomsky stuff. So where'd it go? Chomsky's criticized the Dems more than all of us combined in 50 plus books. To think that he is a loyal Dem and love with Biden is completely demented. I agree. I think that's very child. It just sounds like silly. Biden's going to appoint establishment, no change. Right. I mean, except the establishment is a little bit like, I don't know. It's just, look, David Sirota said this well. I see it as a like temporary tampering down on something that will definitely, like, if not address systematically, will just create a worse Trump. So I do think that what David said is very, very, very good point. Yeah, that's the thing. Chomsky said where is it? All presidents are war criminals. That's the thing, is like people I don't think get that like part of this issue is that Chomsky doesn't think voting is that sacred a thing. Anyway, what else? He's a pragmatist, Chomsky. Yeah, he is. And that's the other thing that annoys me. It's like, yeah, some people are rubes and they think that like, you know, that we live in like, oh, until Trump was president, I was brunching and everything was fine. And it's like, no, but Chomsky doesn't think we lived in a democracy before Trump. Chomsky's not like the Republic was anyway, but I'm obviously, I thought that it wasn't very, I don't think people should shit on Brie or Chomsky. That's my hot take. Okay. So, what are the questions? I mean, I don't even remember what I paid attention to. Did you look into Amazon Prime stream party? Oh no, you mean when I said that with Jack that we should do that? Is that what you mean? Fanto. My hair looks fab tonight. I don't know. I'm not that happy with the hair right now. That's why I kept touching it. Sorry. Chomsky is the reason why the Western left is so weak. I don't know. How did that happen? pick the enemy that will cost less lives to beat. 2020 election in a hand basket. So much Russia gating in the debate. That is so true, and I think that I have to just like not pay attention to this anymore. But people are like, how could you talk about this stuff now when Trump is the enemy or whatever? It's like, well, we can't like let xenophobia and McCarthyism. And McCarthyism has nothing to do with communism. It's like I would be calling it McCarthyism if people are hysterical about another country. But it is like extremely scary groupthink that liberals think they're better than, and they're just not. It's like, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I think this was thank you, Jonathan Tipton Myers agreed with my hot take. So everyone subscribe, right? I hate saying that stuff. Anyone else want to support the show? You know, you can do that by becoming Patreon supporters at patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. We're going to have Chomsky on, by the way. Chomsky's going to be on this very show. I think I told you that, right? But yeah, who do you think would make a good debate to listen to? Smash that like button, yeah. Let me know your ideas. Yeah, and I'm gonna come more. I'm gonna have like more manicured, more shaped openings. Alrighty. So on Sunday's show, what's the date on Sunday? I'm gonna have thanks for repping Upper West Side Jews hard, Katie. Thank you. There's no other way to do it. Am I right? On Sunday night, I'm gonna have Saga from Rising. Yeah, Hedges versus anyone. Yeah, I was thinking Hedges versus. I wonder if Chomsky and Hedges. I don't think Chomsky reversed himself. Where did he reverse himself? That's all I'm asking you. YouTube has been recommending me videos of you that are 12 years old. Oh yeah, Kelly, we may have to remove them because I was a terrible lib back then. I always had the same ideas. The world was different. So anyway, maybe I should debate Ben Shapiro. I'll just do it. Someone on the right. I don't know. I feel like I really need my talking points in order. You know what was very good was on Fox News, with Laura Ingraham when I defended Ilhan Omar. That was a good moment. Ask Noam what Emma Goldman would say now. All right, I will. Thank you. Puta merda. Is that like Catalan for puta madre? But thank you. Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting is Hedges. So someone writes, sorry, your name went away. That's why even Hedges doesn't have a good reason for not voting Biden. What I should ask Hedges is like whether he would vote for him Hedges thing, he said it's not practical and I hope Trump loses. So it'd be interesting to ask what he thinks other people should do, or if that is just a luxury that he has, which also gives him the excuse of saying a lot of legit terrible Biden things. When is my dad Adolf Reed coming on? Adolf Reed has already been on. I'm kidding. I wouldn't give Shapiro on. I would do like a fake edit or something. If you got to show me the Chomsky saying no serious torture happened there. Yeah, I got to have Frank on again. What do you guys, obviously you really like, the live thing is great, right? You like watching these things live. It would be boring to watch them pre-taped or what? Yeah. What do you think of pre-tape stuff? Debate Ben Norton. No, I won't do, it won't be Ben Norton and Matt Stoller, but I may have someone, I may have a China debate, but anyone else? What about like a panel debate about the elections? Maybe, I don't know. Here's what I will say to all the people. What I will say to the people who are terrible, the usual terrible people who are like vote blue no matter who, you terrible asshole, is like, obviously voter shaming is very counterproductive. And Hedges and Reed, that's not a bad idea, Kelly. I like it. Obviously voter shaming is very counterproductive. What was I going to say? Voter shaming. I can't remember. It was so, this is what I have to not look at the chat, but how do I not look at the chat? This is like, all right, voter shaming is counterproductive. I was going to tell you guys something really good to say about those voter shamers. Now, I mean, made me lose it because you were nicely writing in the chat. I have to have a notebook where I write these things down. If elections are legit, then no progressive should vote Biden. Debs need to lose until they move left. But I agree, but I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, they'll just get their electoral power and strength from other sources because we live in a two-party system. But you're saying, yeah, I guess if it forced, I see what you mean, right? Yeah, but they'll just play towards the middle more, no? But elections aren't legit. That's the thing. That's like the big thing that, you know, Chomsky definitely sees. I like Jews, but Zionist Jews, that's a different book. Okay. What else? He believes in, I don't think Chomsky believes in American exceptionalism unless he's probably does in a descriptive, not normative way, which is true. The US is exceptionally many things. I mean, like Hannibal Lecter was exceptional too. Notebooks are super helpful, right? All right. If this chat is too distracting, then a one-on-one debate here will probably go bad for you. Why? No, I just won't look at the chat, you guys. All right. So everyone subscribe. Everyone, you know, feel free to become at just $1 a month for the price of a cup of coffee. Actually, you could do a yearly subscription for a price. Have you guys ever had a coffee that cost $12? No, right? That's a bit much. Maybe some alcoholic drink. If Kate keeps reading this chat. All right. Yeah, $1 a month, you can support the Katie Halper Show. All right, guys. So spread the word. Useful Idiots. Yep, it's on tomorrow. It's very funny. I have a hot take you guys probably won't expect. Broadcast Katie, y'all. Hit the like button. Not me, us. Okay, Sparky writes. Dems could have had a oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, Sparky writes, Dems could have had a worthwhile candidate if they hadn't fixed 2 primaries in a row. Glad you'll have a show on China. Carl Zeiss is great. I've heard progressive people I respect disagree on China, which is interesting. Oh yeah, there's a lot there. Oh yeah, I like this. Fantomas Fanto reminder, watch all ads for ranking higher. Wait, who asked about the Amazon party stream or something? Who asked about that? Someone just wrote that. Anyone know? We should do that. But that means I may have to go to Twitch, right? Don't worry, I'm going to stay here, but maybe I'll have like a monthly movie. You could have watched the debate here. All right. Well, okay, guys, thanks again so much. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be on George Galloway's show on Sunday, actually. I'm going to be on his show Sunday, and I need to, maybe I gotta coordinate an interview with him. Yeah, I'm doing Galloway. Katie's Patreon is fire. Subscribing, get lost in greatness. You won't be disappointed. That's my Galloway voice. Yeah. Okay. So really the thumbnail looked like you were interviewing someone. Where? I don't know what you're talking about. All right. Thanks, guys. I will see you on Sunday at 7 p.m., right? Oh, one thing. We need to come up with a name for this community. So, like, I don't know. Oh, Tightrope is live? I didn't know that. Yeah, so for Katie Halper fans, what Katie Halper show fans, we got to think of a name. All right. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Brad. And I will see you guys later. And subscribe to Brie's show, Bad Faith.